Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Shikha, and I'm so grateful as always that you guys are listening, subscribing, and commenting on my channel. I really appreciate the support. In this video, I wanted to speak to you guys about clear questions, clear answers. Not only do I get a lot of messages from people on Facebook, but obviously I get a lot of emails as well, which I really appreciate, and I've asked for it over and over again. I want to be a source of perhaps not wisdom, just solace. I just want to be there for people whom perhaps have no one else that they can ask these questions to, which is great. And I'm happy to be that source for people. But I found that the more questions I get from people, the more emails I get, the more I realize that people are having a hard time with communication in general. It's not even that the people are terrible at English or anything. That's not obviously the point. You can be terrible at English and still be able to communicate yourself in a proper manner or be able to ask a question. But I'm noticing that a lot of people are not even asking questions in a clear manner. So they'll end up, telling me a long story and not end up asking me a question at the end. And I listen or read the whole story, and I think to myself, what exactly are you inquiring about? Do you want to just share the story with me, which is fine as well. People do that all the time. So I'm here and I'll read the story and that's it. There's nothing that I can really comment upon. Or is there actually a real question here? Are you actually asking me for advice on something? Or are you asking me to look at a certain issue within your life and give some sort of wisdom? Whatever little wisdom that I possess. And this I notice not only with the people that message me, which are mostly INFJs, but I also notice it in the people around me when I'm walking through the world. And I think this is one of the issues of why we're not able to achieve our ideal lives or our ideal goals in our lives, because we're not actually asking the right questions. We're not clearly asking the universe what we want, right? We're not asking ourselves those questions either. So we're not asking ourselves, what do I really want from life? We're not asking clear questions about it. We're not focusing on the right things, therefore. And finally, because of all of this unclarity, or because of all of this mustiness, or just all of this mystery, the universe doesn't know what to give us. It is completely confused. It's like, what do you want? Do you want a boyfriend or do you want to be single, right? Do you want to be in an awesome, happy relationship, or do you want to travel the world? Or do you want both, right? If you want both, let me know. And so I've really been trying as much as possible in my own life, obviously, because I think all of these signs and signals are a message to me to clarify myself as well and to ask clear questions if I want clear answers. Every time we're having a conversation with someone else, every time I'm having a conversation with anyone else, I try to make sure that I'm speaking as clearly as possible. I'm asking as clear questions as possible, right? It's very easy to just blather on and talk and chat and spew out a lot of words that mean nothing and leave the person on the other end absolutely confused. Then there is no real conversation there. You're just confusing each other. I mean, that happens a lot in life nowadays, where two people are not talking about the same thing. They're just talking at each other, but not to each other or with each other. And that's how conversations run nowadays. I don't want to live in that kind of world for myself, at least. And so I'm really trying, as I said, to clarify my own thinking so that when I speak about it, anything, whatever it might be, I'm able to speak in a manner where the other person is able to gather and understand at least 90% of what I'm talking about. I'm not saying that they're going to be able to understand every single thought that comes out of my head or every single thing that comes out of my mouth, but I'm trying as much as possible to clarify my thinking so that my conversations are at least 90% clear to the other person. All of this to say that I want you guys to start thinking about this as well. I've said this before in a previous video, but the onus is not on the other person to understand you, but the onus is on you yourself to make that other person understand you, right? The responsibility lies on your own shoulders. If you want other people to understand you, and this is one of the main complaints INFJs have, is that people don't understand us. Well, have you tried explaining yourself to them? Have you tried explaining yourself to them in a manner that they would understand, right? This is one of the reasons why I always tell you guys to understand the other person's language, right? Love language, obviously, yes, but also their type, so you can understand if they're a thinker or feeler, so you can use thinking or feeling words. Now, of course, if they're a feeler and you're an INFJ, then you're a feeler as well, and you can speak in the similar language. But a lot of people around us end up being thinkers, right? It balances us out, so we end up around a lot of thinkers, and we find that they don't understand what we're talking about. And I used to have the same issue with my INTJ sister. She would be baffled when I would speak, and we had this great barrier between us, this huge miscommunication all the time, because I would say something in my own way and she wouldn't understand, and she would say something and I'd be like, what are you talking about? So I'm really trying as much as possible to break down that barrier with her, and it's been really successful because I've started to put the responsibility on my shoulders. It is my responsibility to make her understand something. If I want her to understand it, it is my responsibility to do that as clearly as possible. It's not her responsibility to understand me in a clear fashion. Of course, a little bit of responsibility lies on her shoulder as well, and it's a back and forth. But the majority of responsibility is on the person who's speaking. You need to be the one who's clear. And I really constantly am messaging people back saying, you need to clarify yourself a little bit better, and you need to ask better questions, or questions at all, right? Some questions at all. Some people don't even ask me a question. They'll send me a long paragraph of things that have been happening to them, and I don't know exactly what their question is. What are they asking me to talk to them about? Are they asking for advice on this thing, or do they just want me to what is exactly the issue here, right? And I get a little bit upset about this because my time is precious to me, and I'm asking you guys to send me emails and ask me questions because I want to help. It doesn't mean that you keep on wasting someone else's time and send them messages that mean nothing, that you haven't actually put forethought into. Don't just type random words together, put together a sentence and some paragraphs and send it to a person and ask them for advice when it doesn't actually really make any sense. When you're sending something to someone else, try to read it a couple of times and gather information for yourself as well. Does this make sense? Am I actually making sense in these words, or am I just blathering on without any reason or purpose? And I also always send an email back to these people saying, okay, read this email back to yourself and pretend like you're a stranger, and then think about if actually these emails and words actually make sense. Do they really make sense to you? Because they don't make any sense to me. And I know I can be a little bit harsh in that manner, but as I said, not only is my time precious, but I'm just one human being. You're probably interacting with hundreds of people all the time, and they're all probably going through the same kind of issue where they're not able to understand what you're talking about. And this is probably creating a huge barrier and a gap between you and those people around you. And I really feel for you then, because you're obviously feeling misunderstood, but there's a reason for that. You are creating that misunderstanding by not clarifying your thinking and clarifying your thoughts and conversations. The main onus, the main responsibility of communication always lies on the person who wants to be understood, right? As an INFJ, your written communication is probably really good, which is why I get surprised when a lot of INFJs message me with really confusing messages where they don't make any sense at all, because they're obviously not clear in their own thinking. They haven't clarified their own thinking. And that's the first step to anything. You can't ask a clear question if you don't ask a clear question, you're not going to get a clear answer. And I always send this message back to people as well. If you want a clear answer from me, I need you to give me a clear question. I'm not going to try and figure out what the question is on top of trying to figure out what you're trying to communicate with me, right? That's not my role. That's not my responsibility. I'm not even getting paid for this stuff, so I shouldn't be even doing this kind of things, but I'm doing it. But my time is, again, very precious. So it is on you guys to make sure, and I'm just talking about me, which is one person, but it is on you guys, your responsibility, everyone's responsibility, to clarify your own thinking so you can clarify your communication. It's so important, because I notice this not only within my own life, but on television. I notice it when I'm walking around and I'm listening, eavesdropping on conversations, or when I notice the communication between my own family members or within my friends group, it's so blatant that a lot of people have lost the art of conversation. They don't know how to communicate their ideas to other people anymore, because perhaps they believe that the responsibility of understanding lies on the other person's shoulder, which is absolutely false. It does not. It is on your own. And so you have to be the first one to clarify your thinking. Don't say anything if you don't actually understand what you're going to say. And don't just start talking just for the sake of talking. Think about what you're going to be speaking about. Think about what you're going to be saying, and then put your thoughts out there so that the other person is not confused by your thoughts and your conversation, but actually understands you a little bit better and understands the world a little bit better and gains insight from it rather than confusion, right? I hope that that is the final goal of all conversations in general. I hope this makes sense to you guys. Maybe I sometimes do feel that I'm a little bit too harsh, but I feel like a lot of people can't just fend off responsibility to other people. And a lot of emails that I get, I notice that that's the case with these people. They don't want to take responsibility for their own actions or ideas. They just want me to tell them what to do. I'm not going to do that. I'm not only not your mother, but also I'm a stranger off the street. And so I'm not taking that responsibility on for someone else's life. Okay? Again, I'm not saying that you shouldn't email me, but really think about what you are asking and clarify your question before you send an email off, especially to someone who has very limited time, like me or someone else, right, on the planet. If you have any questions about this video or any other topics, please message me anytime. All of my contact information is in the description below. But I prefer that if you're going to ask me a question, you email me. And if you guys want to support me further, my Patreon account, the address is in the description below as well. So you're welcome to check that out. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye for now.